All right, this is Daniel Sinclair, and we are in the creative studios of Green Room 97, which is located at 2997 East Fifth Avenue in Columbus, Ohio. The co founder of Green Room, Larry Hawkins Jr., is with us today, and we are introducing a brand new show called Voices of Inspiration. About 8 years ago, I had a stroke while I was driving. And fortunately enough, I was able to reach safety at Grant Hospital, which is downtown Columbus, Ohio. And somewhere during the stroke, I had convinced myself that my time on Earth was about over, and that indeed I was dying. And somewhere along the line, while I was laying there at Grant Hospital, it dawned on me that the good Lord had not indicated at all anything about me dying. In fact, he wasn't through with me yet. He was simply taking me down another path. And the realization that I was going to live tickled me. It made me laugh, even though my face was distorted. In my spirit, I was laughing. I was truly tickled, and that feeling of joy has been with me ever since. Um, since I've been on the path that God has put me on, I've met some incredible people. And I've met some folks who have gone through some truly tremendous challenges, some horrendous challenges, and have come through it on the other side. And one thing that we all seem to have in common, those of us who have faced the challenges of death, is the fact that we are in love with life
Hmm.
and
Yes.
the zest of life. And you're going to hear some stories from my guests that are going to be very inspirational to you. And a prime example of that is my friend uh, and my neighbor, a lady that I call Superwoman, uh, Miss Vicki Burchette. Vicki, welcome
Thank you.
to Voices
Of inspiration.
of Inspiration. Tell us a little about yourself, will you please?
16 years ago, I lived in the state of Nevada and was snowmobiling on a mountain,
Mhm.
and a blizzard came up and was there for 4 days and 3 nights and received frostbite. So now I am a double amputee below the knee. And I'm still living life. I'm still here.
All right. Now, you, at the time of the incident, where were you located? Where were
I
you living?
lived in Nevada. I lived in Overton, Nevada,
Mhm.
but we were on the mountain in Utah, Cedar Breaks Mountain. We were 12,000 feet up on the mountain in the air.
Okay. So when you say we,
My husband and I, sorry.
okay.
Yeah, at the time I was married, we had two dogs. They were in the truck. We were only going to be there for 4 hours, just tooling around. And then a blizzard came up, and we were there for 4 days and
Mm.
3 nights. But both of us were separated from each other.
And now, is this something that you had done before, or was this a new adventure?
No, for 6 years we'd go every weekend during the winter months to Utah and go snowmobiling. So it was nothing new. It was just new for a blizzard.
Okay. Well, describe the the mountain and the situation.
Tooling around with the snowmobile, it was the snow was had a big bank of snow, which probably was around 10 feet deep, but it was all powder. And then as we were sitting there, my husband was talking to a gentleman who was a ranger, but he was off duty. And he said we needed to get out of there as soon as possible because a blizzard was coming up, a big snowstorm. And before we could get out of that area, the snowstorm hit. And my husband said, I want to go left. And I had a really bad feeling about it. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go that way, but I had no choice. And I hit a ravine, and there I sat, and he kept going. So we were a football field from each other all 4 days.
Mm.
And it pounded another 7 feet of snow on top of the snowbank that was already there.
Mm. Mm. So you were in a snowbank with an additional 7 feet
Right,
of snow.
additional 7 feet on top of that. And it was all powder. So every step you would take, you'd fall in, over your head, or you just fall down.
Mm.
So I just kept praying and singing. And the
Okay.
first night I was there, my socks started freezing to my boots, and I knew I was going to have problems the first night. But it was a very wet snow, and I stayed on my machine and slept the first night.
First night you stayed on your machine still. Okay.
Sleeping on my machine.
Sleeping on your machine.
Second day I woke up, it was still snowing, and I just stayed on my machine, and it was still snowing, more snow, and just kept singing and praying. Hallelujah, anyhow. How great thou art, and amazing grace. Because I had nothing else to do. I just kept praying to get me out of here and for someone to find me.
Okay. Was there how did you feel? Was there a feeling of hopelessness?
Yes, the feeling of hopelessness is very real. It's like you're never going to get out of there, but you still keep holding on to God's nail scarred hands. Knowing that He's there with you and that you are going to get out of it, but still you are human, and the feeling of hopelessness is horrible. You feel like you're never going to get out of there. You're never going to make it out alive. I still wanted to live. I still had a lot to do.
I hear you. I hear you. So you got through the first night. First night you stayed on your machine, kind of laid on your machine, and made it through the night.
Yes.
Next morning,
woke up. And the snow is still coming.
And snow's still coming.
Still snowing, still beating a bunch of snow. So I just stayed on my machine and slept more, and only would get up, to go and try to listen for people and hear helicopters and hear airplanes, but no one was seeing me with the cloud coverage that was low because of the snow was just pounding down. And it was a wet snow.
Did you have anything to eat?
No, except snow. I had a bottle of water, but in the snow, it was frozen. So I just kept eating snow every hour, just a handful, so that I wouldn't go into hypothermia and freeze to death. But no food.
Did you make any movements or any plans? How did you try to get someone's attention?
At that time, I smoked cigarettes, and I had 4 with me and a cigarette lighter. So I took the branches off the trees and opened the gas can on my machine, the gas tank, put the sticks down inside and let them just sit there and soak up some of the gas. And then I'd flip them over, do the same thing, and then I would light them on fire. But the sticks were so wet that when the gas burned off, It just went out.
Just went
So
out.
there was nothing I could do about getting anyone's attention.
So you say your feet had begun to
Get frozen to
they were
my
frozen to your socks.
right.
Yes.
I could feel that. I knew there was going to be problems, but
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't worry about that
Right.
because I had to worry about getting out.
Yes.
And that's where my main focus was. And praising God for keeping me alive so far.
I hear you. So the second night.
The second night, I spent the
Describe the
night
second
there.
night.
And of course, my socks were totally frozen to my boots at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I stayed on the machine and just kept sleeping. That's how I dealt with it. Sleeping, praying, and singing. And then the next morning, I woke up and the snow had stopped. The sun was out. The sun was able to unthaw my hair from my helmet because I couldn't get it off for 2 days.
Mm.
And I figured if no one was out looking for me, I'm going to go looking for them.
So you decided to
Venture out.
venture out. You stepped away from your machine.
Mm-hmm.
That took a lot of courage.
But
Because that was
I knew I had God with me.
all right. So what happened when you tried to step away from your machine?
The snow was up to my shoulders and my earlobes.
Up to your shoulders and your earlobes.
Mm-hmm. And I would fall down in it because it was all powder. Every step I'd take, I'd have to be careful. It was a fight. It was a struggle to get anywhere.
Mm.
But I had to go because I kept hearing cars not too far from where I was at. I could hear cars on a road, and that's exactly where I was going because I knew there was someone there, civilization.
Mm.
But I wasn't giving up because I had a lot to do.
Each step, when you stepped in the snow, you kept falling down in the
Yes.
snow. The
Mm-hmm.
snow was over 8 feet tall.
I would say it dumped 7 feet while I was out there for those 2 days. And then the base was probably 8 or 10 feet deep. So it was quite deep.
Mm. Okay, so day 2, nighttime came.
Mm-hmm.
No one had found you.
No one found me. So then the next day is when I woke up and it was the sunny and I started walking in the snow. And then it was because I was in such deep snow, it was hard to get my snowsuit down to use the restroom. A lot of times I would have to go in my clothes.
Mm.
And I never ever thought about it freezing my feet because I just wanted to get out.
Okay. So you say you could hear cars, you could
Mm-hmm.
hear I think you told me that you could hear the helicopters and so forth.
Right.
So you knew folks were looking for you, right?
Mm-hmm. But I couldn't see them and they couldn't see me.
Yes.
Because of the 100-foot tree line and the cloud coverage with the snow being so low to the ground, no one could see me. It was like a big fog, real thick fog.
Most people in that situation would have given up, really.
I wasn't.
What kept you going? What kept you going?
Because I had the drive to live. I had the drive to be a testimony to God, for God, to everyone, that no matter what happens to you, you can still survive and you can still be who you want to be.
That's so powerful. That's powerful.
It is.
Yes,
It's very powerful.
Yes. And so, as you went through the night, you still felt that you were going to be rescued?
Yes, I knew I was.
You knew you was.
I knew I was.
Oh,
I was not giving up.
I understand. That's wonderful. So, the next day, tell me what happened the next day.
The third day that I was walking, that night I just removed snow to where I could get down on my knees, and I stayed on my knees that evening and slept. And then the next morning I got up and started walking. And I heard some man arguing out in the snow. And I think that was God's way of keeping me coherent because there really was no one there.
Oh.
No. It was just, because after a while, with traumatic experiences, delusions kind of set
So
in.
you were hallucinating.
I was hallucinating, but, I still think it was God that was keeping me alive. And it kept me going with that fight that I'm going to find you and I'm going to have you see me because I'm real. I'm getting out of here. And then on that day, I heard my husband hollering my name. And then I found him. And as soon as I saw him, I just sat down and started praying and thanking God for getting me there and finding him. And then within 30 minutes of saying the prayer, an airplane came in and saw me in the clearing in my red and black jacket. And they brought snowmobiles in to take us out. There was 350 people in a search and rescue team that was looking for us.
So you just relied on your faith.
Yes, that's all I had.
That's all you had was faith, and you just relied on your faith. Oh, that's something.
He will see you through no matter what.
Oh, fantastic. So once you got down off the mountain, tell us about the rehab.
They life flighted me to Las Vegas to UMC Hospital, and I had a 4th degree burn. Frostbite is that. And I stayed in the hospital for 3.5 weeks at UMC Hospital. And then I begged them to go home because I wanted to go home. And then I ended up getting sepsis, which is a blood infection.
Say, what was that again?
Sepsis.
Sepsis. Okay.
And it's a blood infection. And if you don't get it taken care of, it can go to your heart and it will stop your heart and you will die. But again, I prayed about it. I knew I was going to be okay because he was there to help me no matter what. And so I ended up going back to the hospital and they diagnosed me with that. And then from that point, after another week in the hospital, I went to a wound care hospital and stayed there for 2 months. Okay. And they taught me how to walk on frostbitten feet. They kept giving me Silvadine to put on the actual burn. And then I was able to be released and go home. And I went back to work. That was my therapy.
Went right back to work.
I went back to work. I drove my car with special shoes and my little walker and went back to the senior center and worked at the senior center.
That's why I call you Superwoman. That's why I call you
I had no
Superwoman.
choice. I couldn't sit there. If I sat there, I don't know what would have become of me. Because I had to keep my mind going and I had to be a witness to others.
Yes. That story is so powerful. I got to stay with it here.
And then a month later, I went to have the amputation and was in the hospital for the amputation at UMC Hospital again. And
let me back up just a little bit.
Sorry.
About the amputation. When they informed you that you had to have both your legs amputated or whatever, what was the feeling? What was the feeling that you were dealing with then?
It was, you really didn't want to accept it. You were angry, but, I did research and talked with physical therapists, and I chose to go below the knee. Okay. Because then I would be able to walk within 4 to 6 weeks. I didn't want to go the route the doctors wanted because I may not be able to walk for 3 years. So I chose to go the way I went. And after the amputation was over and I became into rehab, got my legs and started walking again, I never once questioned God, why did this happen to me? I just accepted it and knew that I had to overcome it.
That's deep. That is so deep.
And then a couple years later, I just said, I wonder why this happened to me. And then God revealed to me that it wasn't for me. It was for people around me. I was to be their light.
Yes, I'm sure you have been a light to many, many people that you've come in contact with.
Mm-hmm. I have.
You've certainly been a light to me. But the other thing that I think impresses me so much, Vicki, is that your vitality and your love of life and the things you just drove to Alabama
I'm
in
back.
the. Oh, wait a minute, we got to talk about that car. 1990 Chrysler New Yorker.
Fifth Avenue. Yep.
Fifth Avenue.
Beautiful car.
Lord have mercy. So you drove from Columbus to Alabama.
Yes, round trip.
Round trip.
Mm-hmm.
How many hours?
14 hours.
14 hours.
Mm-hmm. Each way.
Each way. All right. And you volunteer at Southwest?
Southeast Mental Health. I'm a patient advocate for those in need. I also help others that need help as far as transportation, going to and from the doctor to the grocery store, to go see family. Also, if they don't have any food, I cook food and give them food and make sure that they are fed. And if they need alterations to their clothing, I do that as well.
Mm, mm, mm. Super woman.
No, I just, God has given me a lot of talents and I just have to pay it forward.
So, is there a particular message that you would like our viewers to hear? Is there a particular message that you want to make really clear?
Never give up.
Never give up.
There's always hope.
All right.
And if you don't feel that you have the hope, then seek God, seek going to church, seek a friend, talk to them. But just put your hand out and someone will hold it for you. It's never too late. You can always ask for God's help. You can always get the inspiration within your heart. And don't give up.
Wonderful.
Don't give up. Go to church. Sing in the choir. Help others. Feel good within yourself.
Tell it.
Do what you need to do.
Yes. Vicki, thank you so much.
You're
For
welcome.
being the first guest on Voices of Inspiration.
I feel very honored. I thank you and appreciate it.
We're honored to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you ever need to ride in my car, you can.
I certainly will. Thank you so much for viewing our premiere show. This is your host, Daniel Sinclair. I'd like you to like, follow, and share with your friends and relatives. And we'll bring you some other intriguing stories, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy them. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.